I never thought the one I called my own will leave me to die when I needed him most. My name is Claire Montgomery and I am 34 years old. At least I was 34 when my world fell apart and rebuilt itself into something better. Let me tell you about the night that changed everything. It started with chest pains that felt like someone was squeezing my heart with both hands. I had been having these episodes for weeks, but I kept telling myself it was just stress. Daniel had been working late every night, coming home exhausted and distant. I thought if I could just be more understanding, more supportive, things would get better. But that Tuesday evening the pain got so bad I could not breathe. My hands were shaking, my vision was blurry, and I felt like I was going to die right there on our marble kitchen floor. I managed to call 911 before I collapsed. The paramedics were kind. They kept telling me I would be okay as they loaded me into the ambulance. All I could think about was Daniel. How scared he would be when he got my message. How he would rush to the hospital and hold my hand while the doctors figured out what was wrong. At the emergency room they ran tests and hooked me up to machines that beeped and hummed. The doctor said it was a severe panic attack brought on by stress and exhaustion. My body had been trying to tell me something I was not ready to hear. I texted Daniel as soon as they gave me my phone back. At General Hospital. Something happened. Please come. I waited. And waited. The nurses were sweet. They brought me warm blankets and checked on me every few minutes. I kept staring at my phone, expecting to see Daniel rushing through those double doors with worry written all over his face. Instead, I got a text at 9:47 p.m. Emergency at work. Big case. Will be there soon. Love you. I stared at that message for a long time. Emergency at work. On a Tuesday night. When his wife was in the hospital. I tried to push down the hurt that was rising in my chest. Daniel worked hard. He was building his career. This was probably important. But soon turned into hours. 10 p.m. became 11 p.m. Then midnight. I called twice and got voicemail both times. Around 12:30 a.m., a nurse named Maria came to check my four. She was middle-aged with kind eyes and graying hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked at me lying there alone and her expression softened. "Honey, is someone coming for you?" she asked gently. "My husband," I said. "He had an emergency at work." Maria nodded, but something flickered across her face. She hesitated, then sat down in the chair beside my bed. "Claire, right?" she said, reading my chart. "Claire Montgomery?" I nodded. "I hope I am not overstepping," she said carefully, "but I think I saw your husband earlier tonight. The lavish? The lounge downtown? My daughter works there as a server." My heart started beating fast again, but not from panic this time. From something much worse. "Are you sure?" I whispered. Maria looked uncomfortable. She sent me a picture because there was some big celebration going on. Said one of the lawyers from that fancy firm was throwing a huge party for his girlfriend's birthday. I recognized him from the photos in your purse when we were looking for your insurance card. I felt like I was drowning. What did the woman look like? Young. Very pretty. Blonde. My daughter said she works at some marketing company and the guy was calling her his special client all night. My hands were shaking as I reached for my phone. I opened Instagram and searched for Vanessa Chin. I had seen her name on Daniel's phone before when he got work calls. Always work calls. Her profile was public. Her latest post was from 2 hours ago. There he was. My husband of 8 years. Standing behind a beautiful woman with his arms around her waist. She was blowing out candles on an elaborate cake while he smiled at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. The caption read, "Best birthday ever with my favorite person." I scrolled through more photos. Daniel feeding her cake. Daniel spinning her around on the dance floor. Daniel kissing her cheek while she laughed. The room started spinning. Not from the panic attack this time, but from the crushing weight of betrayal. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of putting his career first, his needs first, his dreams before mine. 8 years of being the perfect supportive wife while he built his success on my sacrifices. And tonight, while I was alone in a hospital bed thinking I might be having a heart attack, he was celebrating another woman's birthday. Calling her his favorite person. Looking at her the way he used to look at me. I pulled out my phone myself. The machine started beeping frantically, but I did not care. Maria tried to stop me, but I was already putting on my shoes. "Mrs. Montgomery, you need to wait for the doctor to discharge you," she said. "I am discharging myself," I said quietly. My voice sounded strange, like it was coming from underwater. I signed whatever papers they put in front of me. I walked out of that hospital at 1:30 a.m. feeling more clear-headed than I had in years. The panic was gone. In its place was something cold and sharp and surprisingly calm. I took a taxi home to our beautiful house in Riverside Heights. The house I had decorated with so much love and hope for our future together. Daniel's car was not in the driveway. Inside, everything looked the same but felt different. Like I was seeing it all for the first time. The expensive furniture Daniel insisted we needed to impress his colleagues. The artwork I hated but hung anyway because it matched the aesthetic he wanted. The photos of us from happier times when his smile was real and meant for me. I went upstairs to our bedroom and pulled out my old suitcases from the closet. I packed methodically. Clothes, toiletries, the few things that were truly mine. My grandmother's jewelry. The photo of me and my sister Emma from our trip to Paris before I got married. My sketch pads from when I used to dream of being an interior designer. I left behind the expensive dresses Daniel bought me for firm events. The jewelry he gave me that always felt more like props than gifts. The life we built together that I now realized was more his than ours. Before I left, I did one last thing. I took off my wedding ring and placed it on the kitchen counter next to his coffee maker. Right where he would see it first thing in the morning. I did not leave a note. What was there to say? I drove to Emma's apartment across town. My sister and I had not been close for years. She never liked Daniel, said he was controlling and selfish. I thought she was just jealous of what we had. Now I knew she was trying to protect me. Emma answered the door in her pajamas, took one look at my face and pulled me inside without a single question. She made tea while I told her everything. She did not say, "I told you so," even though she had every right to. She just held me while I cried for the first time in years. "You can stay here as long as you need," she said. "Forever if you want." I slept for 14 hours straight. When I woke up, I had 17 missed calls from Daniel and 43 text messages. I read them all without feeling anything. The first few were confused. "Where are you? Your ring is on the counter. Did something happen?" Then angry. "This is ridiculous. We need to talk like adults." Then desperate. "Claire, please. I can explain everything. Vanessa is just a client. The party was for networking. You know how important this case is." Then pathetic. "I love you. You are my wife. We can work through this." I deleted them all and blocked his number. Emma had already left for work with a note saying she called in sick for me at the interior design firm where I worked part-time. It was a small company that barely used my skills, but it was the only job Daniel approved of. Something that would not interfere with my duties as his wife. I spent the day looking at apartments online. I had some money saved in an account Daniel did not know about. Not much, but enough to get started. Emma insisted I stay with her, but I needed my own space. My own life. By the end of the week, I had found a small one-bedroom apartment in the Arts District. It was nothing like the house I was leaving behind, but it felt like mine in a way that place never had. Daniel showed up at Emma's apartment on Thursday night. Emma would not let him in, but I could hear him through the door. "Claire, I know you are in there. This is insane. We have been married for 8 years. We can get through this." I opened the door. He looked terrible. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his hair was messy, and his eyes were red. "Are you having an affair with Vanessa?" I asked calmly. "It is not what you think," he started. "Are you having an affair with Vanessa?" I repeated. He looked at the ground. "It just happened. It does not mean anything. She means nothing to me." "But I was in the hospital, Daniel. I thought I was dying and you were with her." "I did not know it was serious," he said. "You have been stressed before. I thought you were overreacting." There it was. After 8 years of marriage, he thought my medical emergency was me overreacting. He chose another woman's birthday party over his wife's hospital bed. "I want a divorce," I said. "You do not mean that. You are hurt, I understand. But we can fix this. I will end things with Vanessa. We can go to counseling." I do not want you to end things with Vanessa for me, I said. I want you to want to end things with Vanessa. But you do not. You want to have both of us. That is not true. You had both of us for months, Daniel. Maybe years. I was the wife at home making sure your life ran smoothly while she was the excitement on the side. I am done being half of your life. I closed the door and did not open it again, even when he stood outside for another hour begging and making promises he had no intention of keeping. Moving into my apartment was like breathing fresh air for the first time in years. It was small and the kitchen was outdated, but every single thing in it was my choice. I painted the walls soft blue-green, hung my own artwork, and bought a couch that was comfortable instead of impressive. I quit the part-time job and reached out to every interior design contact I had before I got married. It was scary starting over at 34, but also exciting. I had forgotten how much I loved creating beautiful spaces that felt like home. My first client was a young couple who wanted help with their first house. They had a tiny budget but so much love for each other. Watching them light up when I showed them how to make their small space feel larger and more beautiful reminded me why I fell in love with design in the first place. Word spread. Soon I had more work than I could handle. Apparently, being married to a successful lawyer had given me more connections than I realized. Ironic that Daniel's career was helping mine take off just as I was leaving him behind. 3 months after I left, I ran into Sarah Peterson at the grocery store. Sarah was married to one of Daniel's law partners and had always been friendly to me at firm events. "Claire," she said, genuinely happy to see me. "You look amazing. Different. Lighter somehow." "Thank you," I said. "I feel different." "I heard about you and Daniel," she said more quietly. "I am sorry. But between you and me, I think you are better off." I raised my eyebrows. "The whole firm is talking about it," she continued. "Apparently, Vanessa has been bragging to her friends about stealing a married man. He posts about it constantly on social media. It is embarrassing for Daniel professionally. Some of the senior partners are not happy about it." I felt a small satisfaction hearing that, but mostly I felt nothing. Daniel's problems were no longer my problems. "There is something else," Sarah said. "Tom heard from someone at Vanessa's marketing company that she is already seeing someone else. Some tech executive. Apparently she gets bored easily." I almost felt sorry for Daniel. Almost. 6 months after I left, my business was thriving. I had hired an assistant and was booked solid for the next 3 months. I had lost weight without trying, was sleeping better than I had in years, and had reconnected with friends I had neglected during my marriage. Emma and I were closer than we had been since childhood. She helped me see how much of myself I had lost trying to be the perfect wife for someone who did not appreciate the sacrifice. That is when I met James. He was the contractor on one of my biggest projects, renovating a historic home downtown. He was quiet and thoughtful, with calloused hands and kind eyes. He listened when I talked about my vision for the space and offered suggestions that made my designs even better. We worked together for 2 months before he asked me to dinner. I said yes, but told him I was recently divorced and not ready for anything serious. "I understand," he said. "But you have to eat, right? And I know a place that makes the best pasta in the city." Dinner turned into long walks and deep conversations. James had been married before too. His ex-wife left him for someone with more money and status. He understood what it felt like to have someone you loved decide you were not enough. But unlike me, James had not lost himself in his marriage. He still built beautiful things with his hands, still loved old movies and hiking on weekends, still knew who he was when he was alone. Being with him reminded me that love should not require you to disappear. 1 year after I left Daniel, my divorce was finalized. I celebrated by throwing myself a party. Not a big elaborate affair like the one Daniel threw for Vanessa. Just a small gathering of people who actually cared about me. Emma was there, of course. And my parents, who had flown in from Arizona. My college roommate Linda, who I had lost touch with because Daniel did not like her. My new business partner Maria, who had become one of my closest friends. James was there too, quiet and steady beside me as I cut into a cake that said, "Happy rebirthday, Claire." "A toast," Emma said, raising her glass of champagne. "To my sister, who remembered that she deserves better and had the courage to start over." Everyone cheered. I felt tears in my eyes, but they were happy tears. For the first time in years, I was exactly where I wanted to be, with people who loved me for who I was, not who they needed me to be. Later that night, after everyone had gone home, James and I sat on my small balcony looking out at the city lights. "Any regrets?" he asked gently. I thought about it seriously. "I regret waiting so long," I said. "I regret not trusting my instincts sooner. But I do not regret leaving." "What about Daniel? Do you ever wonder how he is doing?" I had heard through Sarah that Daniel's affair with Vanessa had imploded spectacularly. She had indeed moved on to someone with more money and better connections. Daniel's reputation at the firm had suffered, and he was struggling to rebuild his image. He had tried to contact me several times through mutual friends, always with the same message. He had made a mistake and wanted me back. "I feel sorry for him sometimes," I said honestly, "but not sorry enough to go back. He had 8 years to choose me every day, and he chose himself instead. I am not interested in being someone's consolation prize." James nodded. "His loss is the world's gain." I smiled at him. This man who saw my worth without needing me to prove it. Who supported my dreams instead of competing with them. Who showed up when he said he would and meant what he said. "You know what the strangest part is?" I said. "That night in the hospital I thought my heart was breaking. Turns out it was just finally healing. 2 years later, I am 36 years old and living a life I never could have imagined when I was married to Daniel. My design business is successful beyond my wildest dreams. I have clients all over the state and am working on a book about creating beautiful homes on any budget. James and I are engaged, but we are taking our time planning the wedding. We both know that the ceremony is just one day. It is the marriage that matters, and we want to make sure we are building something that will last. I still live in the arts district, though in a bigger apartment now. I could afford something fancier, but I love my neighborhood. I love walking to the coffee shop where the barista knows my order. I love the community garden where I grow tomatoes and herbs. I love that my life is full of small, genuine pleasures instead of impressive but empty gestures. Sometimes I think about that night in the hospital. How abandoned I felt. How betrayed. How scared I was to start over at 34 with nothing but my pride and my principles. But that night was not the end of my story. It was the beginning. I learned that sometimes the worst birthday gift you can receive is the truth about someone you love. But I also learned that once you have the truth, you can decide what to do with it. I chose myself. I chose my dreams. I chose people who choose me back every single day. And that choice made all the difference. Sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is a new beginning. Like this video if you enjoyed this story, leave a comment of what you learned from this story. Also subscribe to our channel for daily stories coming your way.